All right, what's going on, you guys? Nick here with Nick's on the Power. So interesting news here. Kai Greene meeting with Dan Solomon. So Dan Solomon is basically the new face of the Mr. Olympia. He's basically the new guy in charge. So Mr. Olympia LLC's official Instagram page posted this photo of Kai Greene meeting with Dan Solomon at the AMI offices in New York. Now, of course, AMI is the company behind the Mr. Olympia. So this is the publisher of like Muscle and Fitness, formerly Flex Magazine. Basically, Joe Weider's baby is what AMI is. So naturally, there's been a lot of speculation as to why Kai Greene would meet with the people behind the Mr. Olympia. Now, this speculation was further fueled by the fact that they hashtagged this photo with Olympia 2019, implying that this meeting between Kai Greene and Dan Solomon had something to do with next year's Olympia. Now, of course, the first thing that a lot of people like to speculate is the comeback of Kai Greene. We've been talking about this for maybe 3 years now, that Kai Greene's going to come back to the Mr. Olympia. But to be honest with you guys, I'm not that optimistic. I thought for sure this year would be the year that Kai Greene came back. That wasn't the case, so I'm not going to get my hopes up for next year that Kai Greene's going to come back. But I will put it off to the side that it is a possibility. Anything is possible in bodybuilding. Anything could happen. We could see Kai Greene come back. But again, I'm not going to get my hopes up. I'm not going to get your guys' hopes up. This could have been a meeting about anything regarding the 2019 Mr. Olympia. What I would like to see, even if Kai Greene doesn't come back, is to get Kai Greene in some kind of color commentary role. Perhaps have Kai Greene as one of the commentators of the Olympia live stream next year. That would be an interesting dynamic to the 2019 Mr. Olympia, as if we saw Kai Greene giving his opinion on each of the Olympia competitors as they came out. I think that would add a whole new element of excitement. Even if Kai Greene didn't compete, it would be something cool that they could add to the 2019 Mr. Olympia. And that's something that I think is a lot more likely than perhaps Kai Greene making a comeback to the actual Olympia stage. Now, Kai Greene has done things in the past to a similar capacity with ESPN, doing voiceover work and things of that nature. So I think that's certainly something we could see. Now, it is interesting when talking about Kai Greene's possible comeback that the issue that Kai seemed to have before was with the people running and promoting the Olympia. He seemed to think that he was just never going to have the opportunity to win. He wasn't going to be judged fairly. Whatever the case may be, it seemed to be an issue between him and the people behind the scenes. So now that he's meeting with them face to face, maybe something has changed. Maybe this is the change that needed to happen. You got a new face of the Mr. Olympia in Dan Solomon. Maybe with a new guy running the show, you could have this new possibility of Kai Greene competing. Now, I've talked to Dan Solomon a couple of times talking about promoting the movie Bigger, which Dan Solomon also played a heavy role in getting that movie going. That's the movie that documented the life and times of Joe Weider, of course, featuring Callum Von Moger as Arnold. So Dan Solomon is a pretty big name within this industry, and he seems to me, from the times that I've talked to him, to be a very nice guy. So maybe this is the possible, meeting of the minds that could get Kai Greene to compete. Maybe they met and said, hey, what's the issue? How can we resolve this issue? How can we get you to compete at the 2019 Mr. Olympia? Because the reality of the situation is, if Phil Heath is serious about taking a year off to recover from his surgery and not competing in 2019, and we don't see Phil until 2020, we need a big ticket seller at the 2019 Mr. Olympia. I think the promoters know that. I think all the people behind the scenes know that. That Sean Roden, even though he's a great Mr. Olympia, without Phil there, what exactly is the rivalry that the Olympia is selling to us? Of course, in years past, you had Phil versus Kai. That was a big selling rivalry. 2017, you had Phil versus Ramy. And Ramy, for the past couple of years, has been in the conversation as a big name to help promote the Mr. Olympia, as a guy that's possibly coming for the title. But this year, we saw a lackluster version of Big Ramy, and he tumbled down 3 places. So Big Ramy's not really in the conversation for next year as the guy to challenge Sean Roden. Could it be Rolly Winkler? Rolly Winkler looked phenomenal at the 2018 Mr. Olympia, but he hasn't been the most consistent at the Olympia. So you could say Rolly Winkler will be the challenger for the title, but we don't know how Rolly's going to look next year. So really, it's tough to say who would be the rivalry that the Olympia is going to sell to help promote the show for next year. So landing Kai Greene and convincing him to come back, talking about what they can do for Kai to get him to come back, would certainly be something they need to do, certainly be something that they would want to do. From a business standpoint, the Mr. Olympia is a business. It is for profit. It is to make money. And the money move would be to get Kai to come back. So, of all the things they discussed at this meeting, we'll probably never know. But I would think that would be at least a topic that came up in conversation, is how can we get you to compete? So again, I'm not going to get my hopes up. I'm not going to get your guys' hopes up. But this does raise the question of what went down at this meeting, and could we see Kai at the 2019 Mr. Olympia? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below, and please give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Nick Strength and Power, signing out.